Hari. Yashodanandana Rajanyana Ranjanya Yashodanandana Rajanyana Ranjanya Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjanya Yamunatira Manachari Yamunatira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Valapa Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari Gopijana Balapa Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Rajana Ranjanya Yashoda Nandana Rajana Ranjanya Yashoda Nandana Rajana Ranjanya Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Manachari Yamunatira Manachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Rama. Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai, Shri Radha Govinda Ki Jai, Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Privajacharya, Asto Dharta Shri Shri Madhviti Leela Pravistas Divine Grace, Lullaby Charanarvinda, Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, ISKCON BBD Founder Acharya, Savior of the Most Fallen, Savior of the entire universe, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanandi. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskita Deshatarane. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 10, Divisions of Creation. We're reading verses 27 through 29. Verse 27, we'll read, has no purport, and we'll chant the two verses responsively, 28 through 29. Verse 27. Pardon me, I forgot to bring my glasses down. Vaikritas Traya Evaite Deva Sargas Chasatama Vaikarikas tu Ya Prokta Kumaras tu, yeah, tubya atmaha atmaka. O good Vidura, these last three creations and the creation of demigods, the 10th creation, are Vikrita creations, which are different from the previously described Prakrita natural creations. The appearance of the Kumaras is both. All right, we got, there you go. You got to make it smaller. That's good. You got it. Deva, Sargas, Chasta, Bidho, Vibuddha, Pitara, Suraha, Gandharva, Pasrasa, Siddha, Yaksha, Rakshamsi, Charana, Bhuta, Preta, Pisachas, Cha, Vidyadra, Kinaradaya, Daisite, Dasaite, Vidura, Akyataha, Sargas, Te, Vishva, Shrik, Krita, Deva, Sargas, Chasta, Vido, Vibuddha, Pitaro, Sura, Gandharva, Pas, Rasa, Siddha, Yaksha, Raksamsi, Charana, Bhuta, Preta, Pisachascha. Whose machine is doing that? I was doing that at Mongol Arctic. Ding. So please don't let that happen. Vidyadhara, Kinaradya, Dasate, Vidarakyata, Sargaste, Vishvasrikrita, Deva Sargas, Chastavido, Vibuddha Pitaro Suraha, Gandharva Pasrasa Siddha, Yaksha Rakshamsi Charanaha, Bhuta Preta Pisachascha, Vidyadhara Kinaradayaha, Daisate Vidarakyata, Sargaste Vishvasrik Kritaha. Okay, please chant. Okay. Sate Vidura. Deva Sarga, creation of the demigods. Cha, also. Astavidha, 8 kinds. Vibudaha, the demigods. Pitara, the forefathers. Asura, the demons. Gandharva, the expert artisans in the higher planets. Apsara, the angels. Siddha, persons who are perfect in mystic powers. Yaksha, the super protectors. Rakshamsi, giants. Charanaha, the celestial singers. Bhuta, jinn. Preta, evil spirits. Pisacha, attendant spirits. Cha, also. Vidyadra, the celestial denizens named Vidyadharas. Kinara, superhuman beings. Adya, and others. Dasa ete, all these 10 creations. Vidura, O Vidura. Aketaha, described. Sarga, creations. Te, unto you. Vishvashrik, the creator of the universe, Brahma. Krita, done by him. Jai Govinda. Translation. The creation of the demigods is of 8 varieties. 1, the demigods. 2, the forefathers. 3, the asuras or demons. 4, the Gandharvas and Apsaras or angels. 5, the Yakshas and Rakshasas. 6, the Siddhas, Charanas, and Vidyadharas. 7, the Bhutas, Pretas, and Pisachas. And 8, the superhuman beings, celestial singers, etc. All are created by Brahma, the creator of the universe. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. As explained in the 2nd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Siddhas are inhabitants of Siddhaloka, where the residents travel in space without vehicles. At their mere will, they can pass from one planet to another without difficulty. Therefore, in the upper planets, the inhabitants are far superior to the inhabitants of this planet in all matters of art, culture, and science, since they possess brains superior to those of human beings. The spirits and jinn mentioned in this connection are also counted among the demigods because they are able to perform uncommon functions not possible for men. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmritam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapantantiham Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utabharakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavams Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vidham Nam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Pitamscha. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu, Dina Bando Jagatpate, Gopisha Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta Namostute, Jayatam Sarato Pangor, Mama Manda Mater Gati, Matsar Vasva Padambo Cho. Radha Madana Mohano, Dibyad Vrindaranya Kalpadrumada, Srimad Ratnagara Singha Sanasto, Srimad Radha, Srila Govinda Devo Pistala B, Savyamanos Smarami, in a temple of jewels underneath the desire trees of Vrindavan, seated upon an effulgent throne, the divine couple, Sri Sri Radha Govinda, are served by their most confidential associates. We beg to offer our respectful obeisances unto them. Shriman Rasa Rasarambi Vamsi Bhattatatasti Taha Karshan Venu Svanar Gopir Gopinatha Shri Estuna Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshvari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubias cha Kripis and Dubia cha Patita Nam Pavanabio Vaishnavabio Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gora Bhakta Brinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, as Vidura has asked, Maitreya is replying and explaining the divisions of creation. Prabhupada writes, I believe in the first canto, it is natural for an inquisitive mind to want to understand what are the stars in the sky? Are there inhabitants on these orbs, these heavenly orbs? And indeed, to actually know what is simply Prabhupada, Vietnam War, 1966, peace protests. If they actually want peace, what is that ding? Where is that coming from? Altar? It was like going all through the Japa period. No one knows what it is? Whose phone? Oh, thank you. Hare Krishna. What was I just saying? Yes, the peace formula. One can have peace if one knows that Krishna is, well, three things, but the thing I'm thinking is the proprietor, owner, controller of everything. One has no claim to possess anything and knows that Krishna is the only owner and proprietor. Earlier in this chapter, this is a very helpful verse, verse 13, for us to understand. People become like immaterial consciousness, bewildered, thinking that something is happening brand new and fresh, or in my pride, usually in youth, what is that? I think it was an English romantic poet who said, whoever, that youth is wasted on the young. You know, I'm young, I'm strong, you know, I'm like powerful. I must have to create something new. And I have to prove myself famous for inventing, innovating. The cosmic manifestation is as it is now, and it was the same in the past, and will continue in the same way in the future. Time is a systematic schedule for the perpetual manifestation, maintenance, and annihilation of the material world, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 9:8. Bhutva graham imam krishnam vasam prakvater vasat. As is created now, and as it will be destroyed later on, so also it existed in the past, and again will be created, maintained, and destroyed in due course of time. Therefore, the systematic activities of the time factor are perpetual and eternal, and cannot be stated to be false. So in other words, this gives us some insight into the pure devotee as Trikalagna. He can understand past, present, and future. Throughout Prabhupada's stay with us, but even perhaps more importantly, in the last few years, devotees were asking what will happen in the future. And Prabhupada's very clear and certainly not speculative, but very accurate and detached. You know, one can be detached when one is fixed in transcendental knowledge, or more importantly, completely sheltered at the lotus feet of Krishna. One person tried to challenge Prabhupada in an open assembly. What is it like to be you? In other words, you know, thinking you're being worshipped. You know, these people are worshiping you. One mother of a disciple said in like shock, and Prabhupada just replied calmly, yes, this is the system, and I am worshiping my spiritual master. So what is it like to be you? Prabhupada said, I have no fear. And the word of the such topmost Mahabhagavat issue of Prabhupada, you know, it just struck everyone's heart. The devotees, it was like, you know, like a dart of beautiful flowers, flower arrows, just, glorify Krishna as Lord Kamadev. He shoots a bow of flower from his bow of flower arrows that create intense desire for devotional service in the hearts of his topmost devotees. Prabhupada, in the last chapter that he translated, 13th chapter, the 10th canto, describing the glances of the unlimited Vishnu forms that Krishna, as he had assumed all of his cowherd boyfriends, expertly, exactly assuming he was Krishna, but he exactly assumed each one's particular proclivities, nuances, idiosyncratic behavior, which on the pure devotional platform is beautiful. Not that we can be idiosyncratic and be antisocial. That gives some insight just how intimate is the relationship between the Lord and his pure devotee. Who was it? Was it Lord Chaitanya embracing Ramananda? One of the Lord became transformed by the quality of the servant, and the servant becomes, this is in all cases, transformed by the quality of the master. So, and then to Brahma Vimohan Leela, bewilder Lord Brahma, he transformed all the calves and all the cowherd boys into Vishnu forms. And the glancing of those Vishnu forms, a question was brought up where we were in Farmington Hills. You know, we're supposed to be approaching Tulsi Devi to get, Krishna Bhakti, pure devotional service to Krishna and Vrindavan. So, how come the prayer is Vishnu Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvachayi Namo Namaha? It's kind of like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, well motivated in his state of conversion, Mukti Pade Siddhaya Bhakt wanted to change to Bhakti Pade. Said, when I hear the word Mukti, my heart shudders in fear and personalism. But when I say Bhakti, then my heart becomes soft. And Lord Chaitanya embraced him, but still instructed him every word of the Srimad Bhagavatam, every word. And this prayer to Tulsi Devi, if you correct me if I'm wrong or if someone knows better, it comes from the Tulsi Mahatmya of the Padma Purana, which is the most pure. There are different Puranas for those in the modes of Padma Purana is Vaishnava. You have Kartik Mas Mahatmya. We have a beautiful chapter Mahatmya describing this holy month of Vaishak. This is along with the month of Magh and the entirety of Chaturmas, including Kartik, the most pure and elevated months of the year. It's described, comes to my memory, that if one offers, we can offer champa oil to the deities. We don't have champa flowers. But if you were in Vrindavan, I think in Mayapur they have champak flowers. If one offers a champa flower to the deity of Krishna in Mathura Vrindavan during the month of Vaishaka, every day of this month, he will achieve Galoka at the end of his body. And Vishnu Bhakti, Vishnu, Krishna is the original Vishnu. So to address Krishna as Vishnu, just like the Ragatmaka Bhaktas of Eternal Brajabhumi, their Aishvarya Gyan, it's not that it's given up, but it's interceptively interwoven into their spontaneous Ragatmaka worship of Krishna in Vrindavan. So otherwise, those who try to imitate, they fall down deeply into the clutches of Maya as Prakrita Sahajias. So therefore, it's given that our process of ascent, first understand that Krishna is the owner, controller of everything. Surrender unto him. To surrender totally unto the spiritual master does not make one completely dependent. Prabhupada concludes the chapters describing chapter 6 of the first canto, and with chapter 5 and 6, which is Narada Muni's, we could arguably say, the best How I Came to Krishna Consciousness story. That was a series they did in Back to Godhead magazine some decades ago, many different How I Came to Krishna Consciousness. That is a very wonderful subject matter. The transformation of devotees. One well-wishing scholar approached Srila Prabhupada. I think this was during Prabhupada's 1976 tour of America. He was in Potomac, July of 1976, just before coming here for the glorious Rath Yatra. He wanted to make a interview all the devotees and who they were, what they were doing before they joined, and try to see if there's some type of, we can make some type of psychological or sociological analyzation of, these different factors, that this is what made them, they couldn't, one takes to Krishna consciousness because it's not smart enough to get it together in the material world. Actually, the memoir of Guru Gauranga Prabhu, he was very successful in material life, but every tier that he came to, he felt like, I thought that if I climbed up this high, it would be really fantastic. And everybody would urge him on. You came to this point, but okay, it's not hitting the spot, but you have to go to this one. just never hit the spot. That's kind of liking unto Srila Bhakti Siddhanta's kite flying on the unwalled roof. Of course, the characters there weren't, college graduates and young urban professionals going up. They were kids. And one boy was flying his kite on the roof of his house with a low parapet, and he didn't see the danger, and his friends didn't see the danger, but encouraged him to keep flying the kite. And one well-wishing Good Samaritan came by and tried to warn him, and nobody paid him any mind. Then finally, at the last point, when he was about to fall off the roof, the man just grabbed the boy, ripped away the kite, took the spool of string from his hand, because the kite had some, torque to it and would have pulled him off the roof with the wind, saved the boy from certain death. But did the boy and the friends thank him? And with the yelling and screaming, the parents and the neighbors coming, did they thank the man for saving? No, they all chastised him. You thief, you gunda, trespasser, rascal, hooligan, how dare you, get out of here. Some were preparing to beat him up. So the Good Samaritan bore all of this, being treated so badly and saved the boy from certain death. So those are the devotees. That's the spiritual master. He interrupts our kite flying on the unwalled roof and saves us from certain death and destruction. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one can cross over this insurmountable ocean of ignorance of birth and death and achieve the lotus feet of Krishna. So Guru Gauranga, of course, one comes to Krishna consciousness because of one is picking up from position in the last life. That's generally so. But the potency of a pure devotee is that he creates good fortune, even for those who have no assets in spiritual life. And that's how we should think. We shouldn't think that, I was a great whatever I was, or I a great what I am right now, but it is simply the mercy of my spiritual master that I can do any devotional service, and that the devotional service that I'm doing is so far below what the actual standard could be or should be. And I simply pray that I can remain in Krishna consciousness by the mercy of the superior devotees. So Prabhupada, he told to that scholar, that is a foolish or unnecessary analyzation. Who they were before and how they came to Krishna consciousness, you can't analyze that. So if you want to study their life now that they became devotees, then that is a very useful writing project. And some devotees who became Prabhupada's disciples, they came from extraordinary. She was a very famous model. She was in France, and she was initiated in the mid-70s. You know who I'm talking about. The name is escaping me now. Right. And she was like, at that time, the highest paid model in the world. In all of the best magazines, she had like, what do they call it? Cover girl, like that. And she gave it all up, and like the newspapers and the mainstream media was like astounded, and it made like headlines. And Prabhupada would keep these magazines and headlines on his desk when he was in India and show this to his guests. And Jagatarini, she was a famous model. Actress. Yeah, not model, actress, right? She acted in she was like the lead female role in a movie about like some cowboy from Australia. Ned Kelly, yeah. With Mick Jagger. Woo! Gave it all up. And even on Prabhupada's instruction, she went to Japan to marry someone that she had never met, Burijan Prabhu. And they're an exemplary married couple now for nearly 50 years. Anyway, we could think more and more examples. So pure devotee is not attracted to any position, unlike the karma kandya tainted practicing pious religious people. They're actually, when they're thinking to go to heaven, they're certainly not thinking of going back home, back to Godhead to serve the Supreme Lord in selfless devotion. They are wanting to achieve a higher position. So what's described here in this purport today, in the upper planets, the inhabitants are far superior to the inhabitants of this planet in all matters of art, culture, and science, since they possess brains superior to those of human beings. So this is a very interesting variety of what is existing in the upper planetary systems. We all know, Gandharvas, Apsaras, whenever we hear that the Lord appears, that they come and offer prayers and they dance and they display their musical ability. But yakshas and rakshasas, bhutas, pretas, and pischas, we hear how even Indra, there is strife, there is envy, there is competition, there is backbiting amongst the demigods in the heavenly planets. So by accumulating pious activities, one goes to the heavenly planets. And after enjoying all the sense gratification there, one comes back down to this earth planet. And on this earth planet, especially in this Kali Yuga, there's all risk and we could say likelihood that one goes into the animal species, into hellish species of life. First going to hell and being dealt with accordingly by Yamaraj and the Yamadutas before being placed in the lower species of life. So Prabhupada, he sums this up in one, well, humorous, but painful. If you think about it, it's actually quite frightening. Unintelligent children going up and down on a merry-go-round or Ferris wheel. So pure devotees are not interested in going up and down. What is it? Narada Muni tells to Vyasadeva, instead of endeavoring for this going up and down, one should achieve, or is that Shukadeva Goswami telling Maharaj Parikshit upon the first meeting in the second canto, the appearance of Shukadeva Goswami? So Vidura is asking these questions, and Prabhupada describes that first, you should learn about how Krishna is interacting and organizing with his material energy. And because we're part and parcel of Krishna, Krishna's dealings with the material energy are not direct. The whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again. And under my will, it is annihilated at the end. One point made in this purport, which is would make buildings like the Natural Museum of History at 81st Street and Central Park West completely useless, that we emerged, there was a big bang and then there was some primordial soup and then some kind of chemicals came together and made these kind of slippery, slimy kind of amphibious reptiles. And then they transformed into dinosaurs. And then the dinosaur, there was some type of Neanderthal man, and then like Homo erectus, he was able to stand up. And then they were like, barbaric kind of animal-like human beings living for tens and hundreds of thousands of years in caves, and they invented the wheel and discovered fire, and then civilizations like Phoenicia and the Romans, and here we are. That's immediately at the beginning of the creation, all the species of life and everything is there. So Apsaras, Vidyanharas, lions, tigers, and bears, oh my, all of these different species of life from up and down, all categories, are facilitating the impure and uncontrolled desires of the living entities, which are meant simply by following the order of the spiritual master, by following the order of Krishna. All that is the perfection of all desire, and one achieves the highest position. Oh, we went a direction and we didn't finish. So those Vishnu forms, by their glancing, they protected their devotees from the lower modes of passion and ignorance, from lusty desires, and quite to the contrary. They inspired and created ever new, everlasting desires for pure devotional service. And in that purport, in that section, so a devotee desired, let there be a temple and seva, and so it was once an empty corner, has now become a great transcendental place of pilgrimage. That is the Krishna Balaram Mandir. So we were in Detroit, and in Detroit in 1975, some strange fellow, older, not like a young college student, came up to maybe like in his 30s, just appeared out of nowhere and came up to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, he said, Swamiji, I have a question for you. Yes, what is your question? If I gave you $1 million right now, what would you do with it? I think maybe would he be like a Elon Musk and ask that question? I'm going to give you like, he didn't give any money. He said, oh, that's an easy question. I would build fabulous temples and print many, many books. Thank you, Swamiji. And he walked away. So, creating devotees. Prabhupada's first prayer on setting sight on the United States of America, which was the Boston skyline at the Commonwealth Pier, I wish that you may deliver them. We were just reading in the previous chapter, Lord Brahma's prayers for creative energy, that he's praying. He's given the charge to set everything up, but he knows the purpose of the Lord. The devotees of the Lord are more kind than the Lord because they know the inner purpose of the Lord. Therefore, they take all types of risks in approaching ignorant men to engage them in the acts of Krishna consciousness, which are absolutely necessary for the human being. That's in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Brahma is praying not to be affected by all of this associating with vicious living entities. And did it happen yet? That it's in coming chapters. He's creating all these living entities, and some come to attack him. He has to deal with many vicious living entities. One should be constantly praying to not be affected by material energy. Dealing with material energy is like shaving. One must be very attentive. A little inattention and it'll be havoc and bloodshed. But for one who is always attentive and praying for a protection and a service, he's assured of success. So in the similar, we're in the Brahma Sampradaya, Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya, Rupanuga, Prabhupadanuga Sampradaya, and our business is to go out. There are many renegades to the Brahma Sampradaya, and the Lord is never pleased with them. But a sincere servant in the Brahma Sampradaya to date, preaching the authorized Bhakti cult, the Lord shakes hand with such an authorized preacher in great satisfaction. Puranjana becomes Queen Vidarbhi, a woman in his next life, and married to the most saintly king, pure devotee husband, King Malayadvaj. He passes in describing his exalted position. With his devotional flag unfurled, he stood firm against all atheistic conceptions. So The practicing devotee in Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, what is the best you have learned from your teachers? We should all, in the next 2 or 3 weeks, get ready for the appearance of Lord Nrsingadev. The best thing that I have learned is hearing and chanting, worshiping, remembering. So the practicing devotee, he must secure these, do very nicely, and then he can come to the higher position of Sakyam and Atmanivedanam. So preaching Krishna consciousness brings you to the stage of being on friendship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is an opportunity to ultimately rise to the stage of spontaneous devotional service. O Dhananjaya, all this work cannot bind me. I am ever detached from all these material activities, seated as though neutral. He has nothing to do with these material manifestations. Material activities are being carried on by his different energies. The Lord is always neutral in the material activities. I have nothing to do with this Nalakuvera and Mani Griva. Krishna is crawling in the yard. Mother Yashoda has bound him with ropes for stealing the butter. But because my devotee Narada Muni wanted me to liberate them, all right, because Narada Muni is so dear to me. And he pulled them down, and then they came out. And they didn't go back home, back to Godhead. They went back to the heavenly planets, but in a certainly better state of mind. So we should be happy where we are. It's even described that the demigods are waiting in line up there in heaven to come down and take birth in this movement. Like on Saturday, say, wow, an opportunity to do Maha Harinam Sankirtan all year, but outside in Washington Square Park on a beautiful day. The demigods are waiting in line. We're so fortunate. So this earthly planet is and Lord Chaitanya, the Yuga avatar, he didn't appear in the heavenly planets. He appeared on this planet. Krishna appears on this planet. Prabhupada says in the first canto, within the memory of everyone, Lord Chaitanya has appeared in his age of iron industry. A disciple of Janavadevi in the line of Nityananda in one exalted literature from the Middle Ages said that Lord Chaitanya has made this Kali Yuga very, very fortunate by appearing in it. So that is what a little something I can say about this verse, these verses. Tomorrow is the final verse of this chapter, which leads us into the descriptions of the Manus, which will ultimately bring us to the end of the third canto, hearing about Svayambhuva Manu, Devahuti, and ultimately Kapila Dev. Any questions or comments? We'll go by seniority, Arjuna Nanda.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for the class. We were discussing some similar topic in one of the programs, youth programs. So one student asked this question, that when the spirit soul comes to this material world, it gets first time to the material world, when the jiva falls, it gets the body of a human body. It gets a human body. So when we say that in the beginning of creation, all the species existed, so who were the souls which occupied the bodies of other species?
Maharaj, would you like to try to answer that question? Give Maharaj a microphone.
Yes, who were the souls that I think it was, I don't know who asked it to Lord Chaitanya, Vasudev Datta. that please transfer all the sins of all the living entities to me. I will remain here so that they all can go to the spiritual world. And Lord Chaitanya replied, yes, yes, even if I would allow that, immediately the universe would fill up with new souls, jivas, that so there are innumerable jivas, and this creation annihilation is going on since eternity practically. That at the end of the creation they enter the body of Mahavishnu, then they come out again. So there are so many who were this first who occupied this position. It's inconceivable. We cannot know that.
Yes, it's a very vast, so that can happen, and at the same time, everyone is transmigrating up and down. Okay, who's next?
Bro, you were saying that if one offers the flower in that particular month.
The Vaishak Mas Mahatmya of the Padma Purana says that. Yes.
So we hear things a lot like that in the Vedas. Sometimes it says if you hear this narration, then you'll be elevated.
Shruti. Yeah.
So is this just an encouragement, or is this actually?
It is fact.
And I have a
and
comment.
It's encouraging too.
You were also saying, Prabhu, about how people in this material world, they're most likely going down to a lower species of life, if not hell. And we were saying yesterday at Fulton Street, this old lady came. She was about 63 years old.
Was she or 70?
She was around 70. I think she said 63. I'm not sure exactly.
Okay.
But she was old. And then she was obviously drunk. So I asked her, when did you start drinking? Like, when did you start drinking today? She said, I drink every morning. And I asked her, are you happy? And then she just started laughing. But you could see that she's definitely not happy if she has to drink every single morning, and she's 60 plus years old. So people are already living in a hellish condition, and then who knows what's going to happen after death. So it's just something good to see how it's not so enjoyable.
Yeah, just a verse a little while ago. Humans are always busy in the midst of miserable life, but they think themselves happy in all respects. As Maitreya told to Vidura, only the Paramahamsa and the lowest of fools enjoy happiness. Actually, only real happiness is the Paramahamsa, but the lowest of fools thinks he's happy. Those in between those two categories, they can actually understand that they're suffering. Yes,
Hare Krishna. Thank you for a nice lecture. I would like to ask you about what you said about the when we are praying to Tulasi, why we say Vishnu Bhakti instead of Krishna Bhakti. But my question is that why do we circle around Tulasi singing Yani Kane Chapapani if we are really asking for Bhakti, if we are asking her to take away our sins? So why are we doing that?
Yesham Satam, but only one who is completely free of sinful reactions can actually activate, and be on a completely pure devotional platform. So we should be very enthusiastic to get free from our sinful reactions. We don't do by some like crazy atonement, like Christianity in the Middle Ages. They, mortify their body and this and that. I think in Guru Das, he was Prabhupada was going on a morning walk, and when Prabhupada go on a morning walk, he's going. If you're not ready, that's it. So he his shoes, he couldn't find them, and he's like running, and it's like on a beach, and there's like barnacles on the stones, and his feet are getting cut, and and Prabhupada's like, what is this? It's like, Prabhupada, I don't feel the pain. I want to just be with you. And he says, like, there's enough austerity. You don't have to create new ones. So we're doing that joyfully by by circumambulating Tulsi Devi, one gets free of all sinful reactions. Our morning program is very concentrated. Malati, she was describing in San Francisco, there were no Brahmins, there's not even a ghee lamp. Prabhupada just instructed that there be a big plate and they put candles on the plate, and everybody in the room, no matter who they were or where they came from, was supposed to have the plate and just like make a circle in front of Jagannath while there was a kirtan. Bas, that was the installation. And Kartik 1966, in Prabhupada's sitting room in apartment 2C, 26 Second Avenue in the rear court building, there's a little picture of, I don't know what the picture, like we have a picture of Mother Yashoda trying to bind Lord Krishna. And it said like a little mound of maybe salt or some sand and birthday candles, and Prabhupada said, you just offer the candle to Krishna in this picture. And why? What will it do? To increase your devotion. So getting free from sinful reactions, or just like today is Ekadasi, by performing austerity on this day, especially for newer devotees or younger devotees, it helps the foundation of their spiritual life become more firm and strong. And also when you're younger, it's more easy to, fast. To actually, Prabhupada said, old people and babies, they don't have to fast, That's something. Good?
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So thank you very much. We've gone over time. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srimad Bhagavatam, and all glories to Sri Sri Radha Govinda. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Vilas Prabhu Ki Jai. All of you Ki Jai.